Only a few years ago, I was hanging around with all sorts of people. People that weren't actually good for me, which didn't have any sort of good impact on me, and never quite, or mostly, did not let me develop myself. And as times have passed and I've gone through many hundreds of moments with people that are either not looking after themselves or don't want to develop, don't want to get further, I started to see how all of this time just gets lost in in that vastness of nothing. And why should I consciously give away my time only to have it with others, only to maintain the like conversation, a conversation that might just not get you anywhere, might not get you to realize something new about yourself, or makes you rethink yourself, makes you want to grow. And the more these feelings started to kick in, where I got to realize that certain exchanges with others are not getting me anywhere close to where I want to be and how I want to like choose people around myself, I started to filter out more. But it was only the beginning of the journey, because like with many other things in life, it's not ending at the realization you initially have. It's only beginning at it, because the realization may be one part, and it might be the biggest one and the greatest opportunity you may have to develop, but the action to actually get moving and start shifting yourself into a direction where you truly adapt to these new kind of things you got to understand is a whole nother level. And this comes with the with big challenges, with with things you maybe not grown yet. But I got to feel that quite fast, because things that made my mind shine so bright in the moment of realizing it, they blurred away. They just evaporated into nothingness again. And I was thinking about, why are these things not tangible for myself? Why am I losing on these realizations that make up so much in myself? Because if they wouldn't take up so many good energies of myself in the moment where they occur, then I would not need to look at these realizations anymore, or to not give them any attention. But as they are filled with so much energy, I I just want to like see how far I can take this realization before I let go of it again and maybe never get back to it, because in all this hustle and bustle of life, you just lose on it if you don't remember it. So, one of that realizations were just as I've started, it was about how I'll arrange my time in the future, how I'll try to be in tune with the things I'm doing, with the people I meet. Because years back then, a lot of time of which I had free was used to hang around with others, and quite literally just hanging around. So after seeing and feeling and getting into this cycle over and over again of doing things, meeting with others, I saw these patterns. I saw these intentions more clearly. The intentions of why others want to meet with you or with a group you're in. And I started to question the meaning deeper. And that was like the beginning of that realization. The beginning of a long, very long realization. Because I think having a realization and getting it to practice are two separate things, but the layers underneath the realization are also so broad, because some realizations are instant. They just feel like you've got that glow of a clarity, and others are slowly embedding it themselves in yourself. And I think the kind of realization I had back then with in like the regard of having people around myself was a slow one that didn't like started to develop itself right away, because it was quite a harsh one once this process of realizing was quite done, and I've moved further down into like the implementation phase, where I actually try to like live it, because I just didn't want to give up on these things which were or these people that seemingly were so close to myself. And so I handled that sort of realization quite with attention, because I wasn't ready yet to go so hard on that, to just live it, to just make that cut, to not see these other people again, because I was quite dependent on it. I was in such an struct I was so integrated in this structure, and it was so such a big part of myself that it would have almost felt like I'd had to let a part of mine go. And that was kind of scary, because you don't want to just give yourself or things of yourself out of control and let it let them go. So I kind of had to feel my way through to to get to a point where I was starting to get into a deeper layer of that realization. And at first it started with like comparing or evaluating, questioning the time I'm using, questioning how much I'm getting out of it, out of the time I'm spending with others, and what I'm actually taking from it. Is it just for the sake of I have time now because I don't have something better to do, so let's just meet? Or is it for a deeper reason, for something where you know, wow, when I'm going to meet that person, something sparks in myself because I know that I'll like question life on a deeper level or get into a conversation where I can exchange on feelings deeply and know that I'll get some feedback which is honest and not only meant to be uh, yeah, I'm a good friend of you, that's why I'm telling you that you're great kind of way. So, and when I've gone through these first like questioning thoughts on the time I'm spending with others and what I take out of the time, I started to see that there weren't many things that actually let me develop, that were like making something in myself spark. So that was like the next level, the one layer deeper into the realization. Because from there on, I felt more ready to just just commit to not meet certain people. Because I saw that, yeah, why should I leave the house now just to get out there hanging around, doing nothing, talking about shit, and yeah, like maybe even hanging on their phone and talk about uh, things they see. There was no perspective in certain meetings, and especially no room for development. And that was an early thing, I think, that made me step into that realization in the first place. Because when I would have never questioned what I want from myself and from life and how far I really want to take it, then how should anything in myself even even have room for a question like how am I using my time? I would have never came up with such a conclusion if I would not consider the importance of developing myself and growing and understanding more about life and where my purpose in it is and where my room for my personal intrinsic growth is. So that was like a fundamental thing, I think, that made it possible. Made it possible to not only get into the first stage of the realization, but to go way deeper and actually graduate into like this implementation phase where you are living the realization. But things didn't quite end yet, because once I started to be more picky about people I'm hanging around, I started to be more picky about what I do as well, because I mostly got to understand about behavioral things on others. What I'm trying to say by that is that the actual like thing that made me understand even more about that realization was the input from out there, where I could like see how I do not want things to be. And when someone is living life in a way where you truly don't feel like this is the right path for you, you get very certain about how you will not try to end. And you'll do things against that, because it was also realized so clearly, because you've witnessed it with your own eyes. When you're seeing a friend, a colleague, someone next to you just endlessly doom scrolling their way the into a state of dopamine addiction, and you get a certain feeling of that this is not the purpose for yourself, then you'll firstly will see it so many more times wherever you are. Can be at the bus, at any place in like uh, out, out there, and you'll get back to that initial kind of moment where you saw that this is not right for you. For sure, you can still be like, yeah, what's the name for it? It doesn't mean that that you'll not fall witness, that you will not witness such a impact from out there, but you've set yourself that moment of realization because someone else said it out, and therefore you're already like moving. You're already like in that first stage of that realization. But I don't think this comes out of nowhere, as already mentioned. As these things have to have a deeper meaning in yourself. You will need that foundation. You will need to want it. You will need to be open for it to be able to attract it. So the stage where I started to sort out more aggressively then came from the conclusion that my filtering process of sorting out people I don't want to see no more, because I don't get anything out of the time I'm spending with them, let me let me understand that it's not as far as I thought I would take it, because I saw myself still spending time with some sort of people doing some sort of stuff that's in some kind of way not right for myself, not only from my mind but also for my body, as some of these people are impacting their minds and bodies with all kinds of substances. And when you hang around with those guys, oh man, you gotta be persistent, very very hard to not like get caught in the act as well. And I was definitely caught in the act, but I think that's a topic for another video. As for now, that kind of thing with these friendship zones is more fitting. So what was still holding me back from that moment on, from the moment on where I saw that I have to distance myself even further from certain people, was that there weren't many others left no more. It wasn't like that, okay, I'm getting rid of these two guys and I got 5 other friends I'll want to hang out with. My filtering process made the whole like bandwidth of people I would hang around quite small. So I was scared. I was very scared of like distancing myself from the very few I got left. It wasn't that I could have not meet someone else from the people I already filtered out. It was not a straight cut where I'm saying, okay, now please, yeah, I want to get rid of you because you are not good for my time and my being. It wasn't like that. It was a slow but steady distancing. But still, I didn't want to get back into old footsteps that just didn't feel good no more, because I've made these realizations and I've gone through these levels where I implemented certain things about them already. So I said to myself, okay, let's stay at this point of having these few people and give them their best try to not filter them out, as long as you don't have others, new people around you with whom you would resonate. And that was like the moment where I was stuck for a very long time, because I wasn't the kind of person that was so open for new connections. I would have been open if I would have shown up or have been at more places where I would maybe truly connect or get more into an extroverted like way of living. But I was always quite picky, and when I heard conversations about things and certain behaviors from people that weren't quite fitting into my worldview, I wasn't excited to even get into a deeper conversation with them, because I already implemented so many steps from the previous realizations and didn't want to see them loosen up again, as they have already did so much in myself, already gave me so much room for growth. So I was, as mentioned, I was quite stuck then. I was with these people, knowingly that they are not good for me, but I still did not convince myself enough. And that was because of the insecurity of loneliness. Because when I would like start to even get rid of these last few people, of these friends of mine, what would be left then? What would be left of mine? As so much time, as so much free and open time was just spent with others, hanging around, doing stuff. What's then? This like uncertainty of not knowing where things are going to head when you make new decisions, caught up in myself. But I know, but I knew that I'll need to go these steps to get into the next stage of my own development, because I wasn't happy with the situation. It wasn't only that I was too picky to hang around with some people. No, I just saw no opportunity, and I wanted people with whom I would, they would, who would spark something in myself, like already mentioned, who would like make something in myself brightened up. I tried to like attract these kind of beings more, but it wasn't easy. And I didn't feel quite right about changing my way of living, and I also didn't want to go like to commercialized spaces just to maybe have luck in finding someone special there. But the time had to come. The time had to get set out. And I had to make this strict and clear move of deciding to head off. The decision I made was like one of the most impactful for me, because once I started to head away from these last few people I had in my circle, and I came to a point where I saw myself not in a lonely state, but in a state where there are currently no like real friends around you. That was the state where I truly got to understand that it's up to myself, and it's only up to what I'm doing to attract others. And as long as I'm moving along in the footsteps I took years before, of just like taking friendships as they are, because they are like that forever seemingly, and why changing something about a friendship you had for years? That was like the thing I saw. I finally got to the point where I was brave enough to just expose myself into this loneliness, which is not always looked at in the same way, because you can be alone or you can be lonely, and being alone is great. but feeling lonely is something completely different. And I've in the beginning gone through the gone through very lonely times from the beginning on, where I sorted out so heavily, where I decided to move away from my old hometown where I've grown up, place here, and moved to Vienna. I left every last connection of others behind. I've known two good people in Vienna, which I've certainly connected on a deeper level when I got there, but it was still that like a feeling where I've cut off all from before. And it certainly felt good doing that move and deciding to be so like radical on my own. But the times of loneliness didn't seem to settle so soon. And it took months of hard work and even more realizations about myself, where I got to understand again and again and again that this loneliness can only be filled through a way of living where you actually attract others. A way of living where you are in the state of mind and being open enough to truly like draw people to you. And that wasn't quite the case. I saw that I will need to live in a way where I'm going out, where I'm going to places, commercialized places, to bars, to like some open spaces where young people hang around to meet others. And I had like a half handful of times where I actually moved to such places on my own, alone, to meet others. And it was always an experience, quite impactful ones as well. Ones that made me understand even more about myself. But I never came home thinking about seeing myself, looking back into the last few hours and thinking, wow, okay, I've made maybe like 3, 4, 5 new connections that I truly want to hold on to because they spark something in me. So what this has shown me then was, okay, when I'm not the kind of person who is going out there, which is like the only way to find new people, but I still feel lonely, then what is the conclusion about this? What am I doing about this then? Because I just didn't want to act as someone else only to like come ahead of that pain I was feeling, that emotion of being lonely. I just didn't want to take it as it is, only to find a way to fill this up. And maybe sometimes in life you just have to arrange and adapt a little bit more before you just completely go your own way and maybe stomp yourself into the ground and feel even worse then. But in other times, just as in these, I saw that this is the right track now. And if it's a track on which I'll be even alone for a longer time, then it has to be the way I'll need to go now. And that is no problem. That's what I was telling myself. It is no problem. Nobody is telling that you have to go out there. Nobody's saying that this is the only right way. And if someone is, I just don't care. Because when I don't feel like this is the right way, I'm not going to do it. And if others get happy when getting out there, hanging around at some places, then it's cool. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for you if you like it as well. But I am not getting happy, or not. I don't feel fulfilled about spending time at some places having mindless conversation. And I'm not saying every conversation is mindless. No, but I haven't found these people yet. And I will only find them by doing certain stuff, by changing certain ways of living. And that's what I just didn't want to do, because I had things I want to achieve. I had stuff to get done for myself, because they were my dreams, and they are. And now we're coming to closer to the current times where I got deeper into these, into living life mostly alone, not hanging around with others, not doing much with others, not getting out, not going out, and just focusing on what is important for me. And if that's a good day of focused work on my project, then that is the thing. And if it's that for weeks, then that is the thing. So I got quite into tune with life that's not too socialized. I love to see my parents, and I also see some other people at the place where I still work part-time. I maybe do not love that time, but certainly with my parents it's always good to just see where you come from and see what kind of values you took from them and how you developed yourself, and looking back on times. But everything else is not at the right time now, and that's okay. And that being okay also means that I'm on the right track again. I'm on the right track, living like it, and I've come to the conclusion and the realization that it's not wrong. So I'm happy about that. I appreciate that. I don't feel bad about being alone no more. And yeah, I'll definitely get on to some dates, I think, as it might be a thing I would maybe like to consider at some point, but also no stress with that. As long as I feel a progression where I feel like I develop and get further ahead with my mission, that's good for now. So, yeah, I've gone quite deep into this. I felt good, caught some sun, new place, like every time I'll make a video, because I think it's great. It's always a different feeling that's coming up in myself being at the new place talking. And I like the view here, and I like the sun. So I'll be enjoying it for another moment, and I hope you enjoy your day as well. So, wish you all the best, and see you next time.